Chapter 10, Mishnah 5. The Mishnah continues to examine differences between grapes that are picked for pressing and those picked for eating. While the previous Mishnah discussed the grapes themselves, this Mishnah discusses the juice that comes from these grapes. It should be borne in mind that the 7 beverages of which grape juice is one are always subject to tumah. They do not need to be prepared for tumah as solid foods do. However, a liquid is not considered a beverage unless its owner is pleased when it emerges from its source. Someone with tame hands is eating grapes taken from baskets or from a spread of grapes on the ground. That is, grapes picked for eating, which are not yet subject to tumah, as noted in the previous Mishnah, even if he is standing over a wine press and grapes are cracked and their juice is dripping on the wine press. The wine press is tahor. Since this person wants to eat these grapes, he has no interest in their juice coming out. Therefore, the juice dripping from these grapes is not a beverage and is not subject to tumah. Accordingly, even though he touches the grapes and their juice with tame hands, the grape juice does not become tame and thus does not make the wine press tame. However, if the grapes were picked with the intention of using them for wine, their juice is a beverage and thus subject to tumah, even if one decides to eat the grapes. The Mishnah discusses a case where such grapes fall onto a wine press. If someone with tame hands ate grapes taken from a bucket or from a spread of grapes on top of leaves, that is, grapes intended for wine making, and a single grape fell from his hands onto the wine press, the law is as follows. If the grape is still attached to its twig, in which case it has a seal that keeps the juice from dripping out of the grape, the wine press and everything in it is tahor. Although the grape is tame, it does not make the wine press tame, because a tame food could not make a utensil, such as a wine press tame. And although tame grape juice can make a utensil tame, the juice of this grape is not tame, since it remains sealed inside the grape and did not touch the tame hands. However, if the grape is not attached to its twig, in which case the grape does not have a seal to keep the juice from dripping out, the wine press is tame. In this case, juice will drip from the grape. Since this grape was picked to be made into wine, its juice is considered a beverage, and it's subject to tumah. Thus, the juice becomes tame when it touches this person's tame hands, and the juice then makes the wine press tame. In the next case, a whole cluster of grapes fell from tame hands into a wine press. If a cluster of grapes fell from someone with tame hands onto the wine press, and he pressed them in an empty area of the wine press, the law is as follows. If the cluster is exactly the size of an egg, the wine press is tahor. The grapes cannot transmit tumah to the wine press because food cannot make utensils tame. Now that the grapes are being pressed, though, juice is coming out. If so, the grapes should make the juice tame, since tame food makes liquids tame. And the juice, which can transmit tumah to utensils, should make the wine press tame. However, this does not happen because as soon as the first drop of juice comes out, the cluster of grapes becomes smaller than an egg. Since tame food smaller than an egg cannot transmit tumah, the grapes do not make the juice tame. The result is that the wine press remains tahor. Accordingly, the juice of everything in the wine press remains tahor. But if the cluster is larger than the size of an egg, everything the juice touches in the wine press becomes tame. This is because as soon as the first drop of juice comes out of the grapes, the juice becomes tame from the tame grapes, which are the size of an egg, and thus transmit tumah. The juice in turn makes the wine press and its contents tame.